It's a big honor for me to get invited by APM Terminals for this kind of interviews, and it's very good that a company asks their customers in terms of how they think about their performance. And I can really assure you that APM Terminals is the only terminal operator who is doing this. You know how the shipping industry is performing the last couple of years. The last year maybe we had a hiccup, but I'm not so sure about the coming year. So everything is around cost control, but also at the first place get your contract in place for a good cost level or rate level, but also getting the right performance level from the terminal. Cost and cost control and having an insight in the cost is really critical for a shipping line, and I can assure you that NYK Line has given a lot of control on that and was very successful in that. The other thing is that we, as a shipping line, we are being hampered by the performance in Chinese ports. Basically meaning we have a delay, basically meaning we have to steam up, which costs a lot more money, and we have to try to get the berthing window without any delay in the next terminal call. And I would say the third issue is really the terminal performance. I'm not so much referring to APM Terminals specifically. There are a couple of terminals per year who are basically overeating themselves. They take too many inducement calls, they take too many services, and as a result they are not performing as per agreement. And terminals in general are very reluctant to admit, and I don't have this bad experience with APM Terminals, I have to say, but that is also one of the pain points we are having as a shipping.
First of all, I think that APM can definitely benefit from their Maersk network. Secondly, I think that APM has very good state-of-the-art facilities. They're very good on safety regulations. With regards to the other regions, let me read it for you. Latin America is saying, being a global vendor, safety, processes, their investments in third world countries or developing countries. Europe is saying, also in line with what I just mentioned, the Maersk network. And Asia saying investments in developing countries.
I do think APM Terminals has a bunch of very bright people. We notice that in our meetings, we notice that in the way they are making the proposals. It's very well structured, it's very well thought of. Sometimes a little bit academic, but in general I think APM Terminal key client managers are very well aware of what's going on. It refers especially to our key client manager. But I would say that's really one of your key strengths, and you should build on that. Another key strength of APM Terminals is, I would say, the way Pipavav in India is dealing with customers. I haven't seen that many times in my career that the port of Pipavav or APM Terminals Pipavav is having a whole set of commercial people who are assisting to promote Pipavav and also assisting the shipping lines to go to customers, to BCOs, etc. to get more cargo through for the services that are calling in Pipavav. I find that a very interesting concept, and I'm a bit surprised I don't see that being copied in other terminals of APM Terminals, and your competition is not doing that at all.
I think APM could be a little bit more sincere with their customers, instead of only listening, or instead of carefully listening to what our problems are and then trying to come up with something that could be helpful for us, but instead actually it's mostly helpful for APM. I think APM could be more sincere in listening to our problems and then also coming up with a solution that is really a win-win for the customer and for APM. For example, a global incentive scheme that does not include terminals where for sure we cannot call. So it would be good that such terminals will not be included, so that it just not completely jeopardizes the whole purpose of the incentive scheme. So feedback from the other regions, Latin America, investments in infrastructure, equipment at both Itajaí and Buenos Aires. And I think that's quite clear, especially after I've been myself to Buenos Aires, could see that, definitely a terminal up for improvement. Europe is saying change from this web of key client managers that when it comes to it on a local level, never truly influence the negotiation result, leading to some of the frustration between the lines and the actual local APM negotiation parties. Asia is saying that APM terminals has to be more flexible.
There are a couple, but one key area is stability. Sometimes we call APM terminals the alternating people machine. And you should understand that when your neighbors in your street are moving every 2 years, 3 years, you are less inclined and having less appetite to build up a new relationship. And if you compare that with your fellow competitors, these guys are in place for a long, long time. They know the history, they know the people, and every time with APM terminals, and it's not only NYK line, it's also at CEO level, and it's also the other liners. They have to build up the relationship again. And we are very fortunate with the KCM here in Singapore, who is very proactive and a very nice individual. So, but that's the key issue. But there are also positive things, very positive things. I have to admit that I see the last year a clear, more commercial acumen arising from APM terminals. In general, I would say it's very, very difficult for a terminal operator to get services on board, because it only can happen when there is a new alliance, when there is a new VSA, when the market is growing and a new service is being deployed and initiated. But that hasn't been happening a lot the last couple of years. Now times are changing a little bit, but then still it is quite a challenge for a terminal operator. And while APM terminals the last couple of years did it very traditionally, the terminal operator should understand that the shipping line, it's about cost, and switching from one terminal to another terminal in the same port requires some effort from the terminal operator. I think with APM terminals we have seen some very bold moves and very bold steps to get business in a couple of terminals in South America. And that's really the way forward. It's not a traditional way, and nice rate, maybe 1% lower. No, there should be big pieces of benefits for the shipping line attached to that.
I think APM terminals has a good split between global approach, regional approach, and local approach. I think that is really the difference between APM and competition.
It has to do with the smart people, the global footprint, and transport and logistics. That combination you have been, or APM Møller-Mærsk have been initiating lately. On the transport and logistics collaboration or pillar APM Møller-Mærsk has at the moment, we are aware that there are annual meetings between Maersk Line and APM Terminals and Demco, I believe. And we don't know what's being shared by APM Terminals with Maersk Line. That may generate some reservation from the shipping lines to share a lot of information with APM Terminals actually. On the global footprint, I believe that during the D-Alliance procurement exercise, DP World has been clearly the big winner, because they had somehow the more appropriate and the more relevant locations in the world.
One last feedback that I would like to share with APM's management team is that please refrain in future from unsolicited offers. And this links back to the situation that we had last year during the alliance negotiations in Rotterdam, where all of a sudden an offer from APM popped up, and we didn't request APM to send us an offer. And as APM knows, both MOL and NYK have equity stakes in Rotterdam, so it caused quite a lot of commotion within the Alliance Terminal Committee. So that's something that I think in the future we really should together maybe avoid from happening. Europe is saying limit the key client network to global and enhance the relationship between the local negotiation negotiating responsible parties?
Yes, a few points. I think it's important that you maintain your key client management program, because I think that's very essential that one or two persons in your company knows everything about NYK line and the people, etc. That's very key. The second one is probably, that has to do with your right people. Don't overcomplicate your approach. It's sometimes come across as academic, and sometimes we even get proposals whereby the timeline of contract signing and contract preparation is being presented in the slide, but that's for us the last part of the negotiation. So don't make it too academic. Last but not least, that's referring to the IQ and the EQ. I think it would be good to have a bit more EQ into your company. That's it. But otherwise, we are really satisfied with the change we have seen with APM terminals the last year.
If I could sum up APM terminals in 3 words, it would be the 3 Ps. Professional, pragmatic and proud.